In the early 13th century, a storm was brewing on the vast steppes of Central Asia. Under the unifying leadership of Genghis Khan, the Mongol tribes transformed into an unstoppable force, forging one of the largest land empires in history. After his death, his successors continued his vision of conquest, their gaze turning towards the riches of the Middle East. This monumental task fell to Hulagu Khan, a grandson of Genghis. His mission to expand Mongol control into the heart of the Islamic world. His primary target was a symbol of power and knowledge, a city that had once been the envy of the world. Baghdad, established in 750 CE, the Abbasid Caliphate, with Baghdad as its capital, was a titan of the Islamic world. It was a jewel of civilization, positioned at the crossroads of major trade routes, making it incredibly wealthy. Baghdad wasn't just a city. It was the epicenter of the Islamic Golden Age. Poets, scientists, philosophers, and scholars from every corner of the known world flocked to its gates. Its legendary house of wisdom was the intellectual capital of the world, a beacon of learning and discovery. But by the time the Mongols arrived at its doorstep, the Golden Age had tarnished. The Abbasid Caliphate was a shadow of its former self. The Caliph's authority was mostly symbolic, with real power held by ambitious generals and regional governors. The ruling Caliph, al-Mustasim, was a weak leader presiding over a fractured and deteriorating state. He was ill-equipped to face the storm that was gathering on the horizon. Before Hulagu could set his sights on Baghdad, he had another problem to deal with: the notorious Order of Assassins. This secretive Nizari Ismaili state, nestled in the formidable Elborz Mountains, had a history of antagonizing the Mongols. They had killed Mongol commanders and, according to Mongol intelligence, even dispatched assassins to the Mongol capital to kill the great Khan himself. This was a threat Hulagu could not ignore. To crush the assassins and demand the submission of the Abbasids, Hulagu was given an unprecedented force. 1/5 of the entire Mongol Empire's manpower, an army of perhaps 200,000 men, a multinational legion of destruction. It included Armenian troops, 1,000-strong corps of elite Chinese military engineers, and auxiliaries from across the empire. The sheer size of his army meant his advance was slow, almost leisurely by Mongol standards, but its purpose was terrifyingly clear. By early 1256, Hulag's forces entered the assassins' heartland. An advance guard had already been softening them up, and now the full weight of the Mongol army came crashing down. The assassins' grandmaster, Rukn al-Din Shah, tried to buy time, but his fortresses fell one by one. On November 19th, he surrendered, and the legendary Order of Assassins was shattered. With the assassins neutralized, Hulagu turned his attention back to Baghdad. He had expected Caliph al-Mustasim to provide troops for the campaign, a standard Mongol demand to test loyalty. The Caliph initially considered it, but his advisors, perhaps rightly, suspected a trick to leave Baghdad defenseless. He refused. This refusal was a critical mistake. Hulagu spent the summer of 1257 on the Hamadan Plain, his forces swelling as another Mongol commander, Baiju, arrived with his own army of Georgian, Armenian, and Seljuk vassals. The stage was set. In September, Hulagu began a tense correspondence with al-Mustasim. His first message was a blunt demand: dismantle Baghdad's defenses and send your 3 top ministers to me. Al-Mustasim's reply was shockingly arrogant. He called the Mongol leader young and ignorant, boasting that he could summon armies from all corners of Islam to his defense. He refused Hulag's demand, sending 3 lesser officials instead and treating the Mongol envoys with disrespect. This was like throwing gasoline on a fire. After a few more fruitless letters, Hulag's patience ran out. He consulted his advisors and gave the order: prepare to attack Baghdad. On January 22, 1258, Hulag's massive army reached the eastern suburbs of the city. The Mongols immediately began the siege, constructing fortifications and a stockade to encircle the capital completely. By this point, the famed walls of Baghdad were in a state of disrepair, and its garrison of around 50,000 men was poorly trained and unmotivated. Despite these weaknesses, Hulagu left nothing to chance. His planning was meticulous. The Mongols even attached messages to arrows, shooting them into the city. These messages promised safety to Christians, certain Muslim leaders, and anyone who surrendered without a fight. It was a classic Mongol tactic of psychological warfare, designed to divide the defenders before the main assault even began. The assault started on February 1st. The Mongols, using their powerful siege engines, pounded the Ajami Tower on the southeastern wall. After days of relentless bombardment and brutal fighting, the first breach was made. Mongol warriors stormed through the gap, but the city's defenders fought back fiercely, managing to push them out. The siege continued, but on February 4th, the Mongols breached the eastern battlements. This time, there was no pushing them back. After another round of intense combat, the Mongols seized control of a whole section of the city wall. Panic spread. The Caliphate soldiers abandoned their posts and rushed to the other side of the city, frantically trying to build new fortifications. Sensing defeat, the Caliph's chief minister, the Da'at-dar, tried to escape down the Tigris River with his treasure and family, but Hulagu had anticipated this. His forces had blocked the river, and they intercepted the Da'at-dar's party, sinking 3 of his boats and forcing him back into the doomed city. The trap was closing. Over the next week, a desperate Caliph al-Mustasim sent out envoy after envoy, but Hulagu would accept nothing less than unconditional surrender. The Caliphs to top officials, the Da'at-dar, and the commander of the army were handed over to the Mongols during negotiations. They were executed immediately. On February 7th, a large number of unarmed soldiers and citizens walked out of the city, hoping for mercy. They were told they could settle in Syria. It was a lie. Once they were clear of the walls, the Mongols divided them into groups and slaughtered every last one. Finally, on February 10th, after receiving a guarantee of safety for his family, Caliph al-Mustasim surrendered. He walked out of Baghdad with 3,000 of his dignitaries, leaving his city and his people to their fate. Hulagu then ordered the Caliph to command the entire population to exit the city, leaving their weapons behind. Those who obeyed were systematically massacred. 3 days later, the sack of Baghdad began. The city, with a population estimated at 1 million people, was subjected to a week of unimaginable horror. The Mongol army was unleashed, and they butchered most of the city's inhabitants. It was a cataclysmic event that, in one fell swoop, brought the Islamic Golden Age to a bloody and abrupt end. The destruction was absolute. Countless manuscripts and books from the House of Wisdom and other libraries were destroyed, thrown into the Tigris River until its waters reportedly ran black with ink. It was an incalculable loss of knowledge, centuries of science, poetry, and philosophy gone forever. Scholars, scientists, and artists were either killed or forced to flee, creating an intellectual vacuum that would last for generations. The only ones spared were the city's Christian community and merchants who had ties to the Mongols. The fall of Baghdad in 1258 wasn't just the end of a city. It was the end of an era, an event so devastating, its echoes can still be felt in the historical memory of the world today. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this journey into the past as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more deep explorations into history's most pivotal moments. We'll see you in the next one.